Okay, guys, hello, and welcome back to Relevant Founders, brought to you by Relevant Software. Relevant is an international software development company that designs, builds, and delivers world-class standard products for Fortune 500 companies and promising startups. Today, a face you may have seen before, guys. We've got Matteo, CEO of Popup, the only no-code commerce platform that lets businesses control the customer's journey visually. So, Matteo, good to see you. Been quite a few months, I think, maybe 2 months since we last spoke. How are you?
I'm good. It's nice to see you again.
Likewise. Now, obviously, our conversation today is going to be much different compared to our last one, where everything was about Ukraine last time. Today, I want to concentrate more about on your journey and your journey with Popup. So, just for our listeners, if you can introduce Popup for me and give us like a crash course of what sets your Popup apart from all of the competition out there.
So I think if anyone of you out there has ever played with Lego, it's probably that's the best analogy that I can offer. I think we realized that all the platforms out there, they were using a very rigid approach in the way they were built, so in the way you build upon. And one day I was playing with my daughter and she was playing with Lego, and I realized that I would used to play with Lego, and my mom used to play with Lego, and my daughter now is playing with Lego. And I realized that actually the modularity of Lego and the flexibility and the fact that you have these building blocks, that you can actually build anything. You can actually build very complex things, so you can build very simple things, and you can just let your imagination go wild and build whatever you want. And this is actually the issue that we had when we were running our own e-commerce store. So before actually running Popup, we had 7 different e-commerce brands, and most of them were on Shopify. And we were running a very successful business, but this very rigid approach wouldn't allow us to grow without increasing complexity. And so when we decided to build Popup, we came up with this type of, let's say, building blocks approach, where we give you the fundamental building blocks, and then you can build whatever you want. So if you are an enterprise merchant, or if you have a very complex setup and you want to build a very, let's say, complex and calculated customer journey, you can do that with Popup. But if you're a creator, you just want a page and a checkout because you want to sell a course, you can do that too. And you can use it in conjunction with your current e-commerce platform, or you can use it as a standalone e-commerce platform.
Matteo, was the idea of Popup, did it come about before, obviously, this moment when you were playing Lego with your daughter? Did you ever think about it before this moment, or was it literally like the light bulb moment when you were playing?
I think it was a 3 of us. We're 3 co-founders, and at the time we were running Vicera Group, which is the direct-to-consumer brand, e-commerce brands. We had 7 different brands, and we were running them, create them, market them. So we were not an agency; we actually own the brands, and we still do. And we were always discussing about why things are so complex, why things have to be so complicated and so difficult. And we always find it very hard to adapt to the ever-changing e-commerce markets, because society is evolving and the way we shop online is evolving. And at the same time, e-commerce platforms are trying to evolve along with society. I'll give an example. It's, TikTok came to be 3 or 4 years ago, and that opened up a completely new possibility to do ads on TikTok. At the same time, iOS 14 crushed Facebook advertising, and now we're trying to find different way to acquire traffic. So when you're trying to find different way of acquiring traffic, you also have to give a different let's say, post-click experience. At the same time as well, cross-border commerce is becoming the norm, which means that you have to sell in different countries, in different currency, to stay above the market and to actually be competitive. And so everything that is out there, especially Shopify, which is to me is still the best platform that is out there, is based on a blueprint that has not changed since the 90s. And every time you're trying to move away from this blueprint, and a blueprint is a homepage, a product page, a cart, and a checkout, you're basically starting using an array of apps, and you started hacking things together. And this is where basically the idea came to be. And I was playing with my daughter with Lego, and at the same time, I had a discussion with my co-founder and say, hey, have you ever played with Lego? And it was like, actually, yeah, we were in a Lego store last week, and they were telling me they saw these headlines saying, turn your passions into possibilities. And that's actually, I think we were discussing at the time, is there a better way to do things? And we were testing different e-commerce platforms because we thought that we were maybe a little bit biased against Shopify because we worked in Shopify for so long. So we were like, maybe because we worked in Shopify and we just use Shopify, maybe there is something better out there. And we tested everything, and there was nothing better. So we were in that phase that we kind of finished the testing. We were back on square one. And then we were having the discussion about Lego. And that's where we started thinking about these building blocks and how we can create something by using these fundamental building blocks. And this is what we did. So we moved away from the blueprints. So it's not a homepage, a product page, a cart, and a checkout. I mean, you have homepages, product pages, cart, and a checkout, but you can actually arrange the elements into a journey builder, which is basically like a whiteboard. And then you place the elements next to each other, you connect them. You can put actions as well in the background, and you basically create a customer journey. So instead of just creating an online store, you create a shopping experience. And for a creator, I don't know, a creator can have like a link in bio going into a product page, going to a checkout, and going to an upsell, and going into an order confirmation page. A general store will have like a homepage style of page with a few different products going into a maybe upsell again, and maybe into a cart. Some people would just need one product and one checkout. I mean, most of the creators that I speak to, they just sell a book. They don't need a full-on Shopify store. They just need the product page and a checkout, nothing more. But you cannot do this with Shopify, right? Shopify forces you to subscribe to their blueprint. So if you just want a product page and a checkout, you still have to create a full-fledged store on Shopify. You just can't have a product page and a checkout. So we kind of started to kind of thinking about this, and that's where the product came to be.
So this idea of obviously the 90s when they created this kind of blueprint, is that been something that has held you back, or has it been something that you've been able to build upon in order to make life much easier?
Yeah, so I think it's like when Shopify came out, and it was out 14, 15 years ago, Toby wanted to build his own, I think it was not skateboarding, it was snowboard, sorry, it was snowboard, Snow Devil. That was the first store that he wanted to build. He didn't want to build an e-commerce platform. He was just trying to solve a problem for himself. And at the time, Snow Devil was built upon Yahoo Store. Yahoo Store was the first, right? First e-commerce platform that you can build upon, but you still need to be a developer. You still need the resources. So I think Toby was trying to say, what if we can make things easier for anyone to start an online store? And that's what they did. And they did amazing on that. But the issue is like, e-commerce is not like it was 16 years ago. Now everyone is online and the market is becoming competitive. So having an e-commerce store like, we had 16 years ago is not enough. You need more. I mean, there is new ways of selling online. There is live streaming. There is, link in bios as well, connected to checkouts. There is 4 or 5 different acquisition traffic, and they're just increasing. There is Facebook, there is TikTok, there is Google. Now, probably Netflix is going to explore as well, advertising in the future. In-app as well, in-app advertising as well is coming up. Virtual shopping is coming up. So it's like it's the new ways of selling online that are really, really changing every day, and they're evolving. But the platform and the blueprint has not changed. It's stayed the same.
Interesting. Really got that idea of the Lego then, yeah? The building blocks, building on top of it from there. Okay, interesting. Tell me, Matteo, tell me a little bit, let's start right from the beginning. Tell me a little bit about your original MVP. How did you approach it?
Yeah, so we bootstrapped Popup at the very beginning. So to be honest, we started building it for ourselves. So we were like, let's try to build, if we had to build something like we wanted, what would it be? What did it look like? So we kind of looked at the current setup that we had, and we tried to make it as simple as possible, no code. So we had a very complex setup that was managed by various people, and we're using 4 or 5 different apps to achieve what we were trying to achieve. And it wasn't nothing crazy. Literally, we were selling in multiple countries. We had like 10 to 15 products per store. So we didn't have a huge amount of SKUs, but then we were running ads in 4 or 5 different acquisition channels. So we had to have we have different landing pages. We have different experiences for our customer. We were doing influencer collaborations. And for each one of these activities or ideas that we had to use an app, or maybe we had hack some things together. I think at one time we were actually hacking ClickFunnels on top of Shopify, just because we wanted to create like a lead capture going into a product page, going into a checkout, like something super simple. I think it was a use case. It's like, hey, what about we collect some information from the customers, and after that we send them a free ebook, and after that we show them a product. That's what we wanted to do. And to do that, we had to use ClickFunnels, hacking on top of Shopify, and then using an email marketing tool. So we started to take in all these use cases. And also, I was working in Shopify. My business partner, Corey, was working for Shopify. Kate as well used to work in Shopify. And we all both worked in a support role or in an advisory role. So myself and Corey were working with the Shopify Plus. He was a launch engineer as well. So he was working with large merchants. I was working with international team. Kate was working with support as well. So running like the more low level, let's say, merchants, like the one that don't process a lot of money. So we had all this baggage of stories, experiences, use cases that we heard from problems that we try to solve for others and problems that we try to solve for ourselves. We just really took all of that and just say, okay, let's try to solve these problems the easiest possible way. And that's what we did.
Yeah, very, very interesting. So when did the point, or well, have you since that point, obviously, have you, at the beginning, it was very much concentrated on you guys, bootstrapping it all, working on it, probably pulling from all corners of basically of your abilities and to be able to fulfill every task. When did it come, or has it ever come to the point where you started outsourcing some kind of software developers to help you?
Yeah, so we closed the funding round in November. So we bootstrapped the platform for about 6 months before that. And that was yeah, that was the time that we actually started to kind of realize, before November, we started to realize that this was not going to be a platform where we can launch an MVP.
Mm-hmm.
There's no MVP, basically. There was no MVP. It's either a full structured product or nothing. Because
Mm-hmm.
a merchant that process $1,000 a year is the same type of setup that a merchant that processes 10 million a year. Exactly the same.
Okay.
It doesn't change. So we realized that it wasn't the size of the merchants. It was really come down to integrations and features and basic features. So order management, fulfillment management, tax management, API integrations with third party. All of this, if you're making 100 orders a month, or if you're making 20,000 orders a month, it's actually the same thing. I run small stores, I run big stores, same store, same setup.
Mm.
So for us, it's always been
Quantity, I
like,
guess, isn't it? Volume of what you're getting.
yeah. So we never went to the route of actually hiring an agency or outsourcing. We started to hire internally.
Uh-huh.
And it comes with, and I don't think there is a right or wrong here. I think it's like, it really depends on your business. It really depends on what stage of your business are and what you're trying to build. I think we have probably one of the most ambitious pre-seed projects in the world right now. I'm not trying to exaggerate it. It's just like, if you look at how many times an e-commerce platform came out, there's not.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just literally just Shopify. Shopify is the only e-commerce platform out there. Wix, Squarespace are web builders with e-commerce functionality. But if you're just looking at commerce first, there's nothing.
Why
and
is
the reason
that?
is because it's so complex.
Uh-huh.
It's really like, you need to have worked in an e-commerce platform before, so which is basically Shopify.
Mm-hmm.
You need to have run your own store yourself, so you know the ins and outs of all the commerce. And also the other thing is, like, we're building something that has never been done before. Like the journey builder, this particular framework where you're using these e-commerce building blocks to create this customer journey. This is an approach that has never been done before. So you're building things that have never been done before, and also you are also building a very complex backend as well, because we're not sitting on top of other e-commerce platform. You have to build the CRM, order management, fulfillment management, payments, eventually taxes, and then you have all the API platform integration, which is not something that you can delay, because, as I was saying to you, it's not really an MVP. That's why it was like a lot to build. And for us, it didn't make sense hiring an agency, because we knew that we were trying to build a team thinking about 2 years ahead or 3 years ahead. So with an agency, we knew that it was like a band-aid, but then eventually in the future, it was going to bite it in the butt,
So saying obviously that you're the only one out there, does that mean there is space for competitors, for your competitors, or does that mean that the market will be too crowded? There's only place for one top dog?
Yeah, I think in terms of competition, we have no direct competitors, in terms of like, there's no platform out there that does what we do.
Mm-hmm.
We build Popup in a way that can be used in conjunction with your current e-commerce platform, just like a pop-up store, or you can use it as a standalone store. So in terms of competition, someone need, like, to create something like this from scratch. It is a very ambitious project. So I think a lot of people are waiting in the sideline to see if we're gonna fail. And if we prove the concept and people are gonna like, oh my God, I really like this new way of doing commerce, or I really like this idea of creating my own customer journeys, or to actually have a platform that is more flexible, that adapts with you. If we prove this concept, then eventually I think in 2 years or 1 or 2 years, you can start having people trying to copy you. Yeah. Someone like Shopify or anyone else out there, they will never be able to change their current structure. They'll either build something from scratch and create like Shopify pop-up, or they don't. It's like, they cannot change their current architecture, because it's the fundamental structure that is different. It's not just like the front end or something like this. It's actually the way you build the stores.
Very interesting. So by the time people have obviously spent enough time observing what you're doing to see if it's going to work, you're going to be so far ahead from obviously all the other competition that they're not really going to be able to catch up as well. Tell me, obviously, I remember from our last conversation, we were obviously talking about Ukraine, and you have an engineer. I think it was an engineer in Ukraine. Obviously, it was, I think they were close to the kind of the border, the Kharkiv region. Tell me, is Ukraine one of those places that you want to continue and will go to? Or is there some kind of other appearing market, other countries that you would like to outsource from now?
Yeah, so I think for us, this is what the challenge as well that we've been facing right now, but it's the strategy behind growth and hiring, because there's 25 people now. It's trying to keep people in the similar time zone. So when we started Popup, we were very lucky to have 3 amazing engineers from India that left another e-commerce, more like it was an enterprise e-commerce solution to join us. So we were very lucky to find amazing talent in India that knew exactly what we were doing, to actually have commerce knowledge, which is the hardest thing, because you need to have e-commerce knowledge to be able to build an e-commerce platform. We noticed this.
Running straight away.
And so for us, we started to kind of get engineers maybe in the US, and we started to actually to be able even to afford engineering in the US. But then it didn't make sense, because the Indian team started to have his own offsite, his own kind of more like relationship within, right? And it kind of made sense to keep on hiring in India on an engineering level. While I'm looking heavily to Ukraine for marketing, because Daria has obviously joined the marketing team. We've been interviewing as well another person from Ukraine for the copywriting team. And I'm looking at Ukraine for marketing talent, social media, designers, video editors, and things like that.
How come? Why Ukraine for that part?
Yeah, because I think it's like there is just amazing talent in Ukraine, and amazing talent at an affordable price. I mean, I'm not shy to say it. I mean, we pay people, I guess, way more than let's say an average salary in Ukraine. Obviously, we pay them with like a more European salary, but it's nothing comparable to like a US, US salary.
And I guess this is got the time zone, as you were saying as well. You've got, obviously, if you're working with India, Ukraine, and you're in Ireland, I think, aren't you? So it's
I'm in Ireland. There's basically there is India, Dubai, Ukraine, Portugal, and London, Ireland. That's kind of the 4 time zones. So Ukraine is good because it kind of sits in the middle between the engineering team and us as well. But it's also, for me, I want to go back to Ukraine. I mean, I'm coming, as I was telling you before, we're coming in 2 weeks. I want to kind of settle over there a little bit more. So for me, having a team where I can actually meet as well, because I mean, we're fully distributed. I love the distributed culture, the opportunity it opens, but I actually like hanging out with people. And so for me, having like a content team over there, especially content team, that's what I'm more looking at.
And have you got the idea? I remember you saying about an office, opening up an office in India.
Yeah, I think it's like we're looking into more for our other company, Viceroy Group, which they've been pivoting more into brand management and agencies. And the idea actually is to starting like an app development agency in Ukraine for Popup. So not to actually run by Popup, but Viceroy is going to be his own company, but they can actually build apps for Popup.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's very similar to what, for instance, Shopify did with Bolts. So when Shopify launched, Bolts were able to build the essential app that Shopify needed at the time, and they just didn't have the time to build it. Like, I think they built like a shipping app and a bundle app and this type of add-ons, and then eventually Shopify bought Bolt. So what we thought about it was like, why Viceroy doesn't actually start something like this, and they can build apps for Popup, but they can actually build it for someone else too. Kind of makes sense. It kind of stays in the family, and at the same time, it's kind of a win-win situation. And we're thinking actually Ukraine and setting up a team over there to build apps.
Okay, nice, very nice. So actually, your plans haven't really changed at all since I last spoke to you a couple of months ago, at the start of the war, which is nice to hear. Matteo, let's talk a little bit more about no-commerce and no-code solutions as well. So what I want you to do, basically, just for our audience as well, most of them know, but I like this kind of approach of explain it to me like I'm 5. Yeah, explain it to me like I'm 5. Yeah. What is no-code solution?
Yeah, no-code solutions are solutions where you don't have to know how to code or in any language, like HTML, CSS, or whatever it is, and you can actually build a store, front end and back end, without having zero knowledge of coding or writing in code, let's say.
Okay, and obviously, so with no-code solutions, there's many pros, there's many cons. Let's start obviously with the cons. You've got some kind of, there's a limitation in customizing applications in no-code platforms. There's some kind of issues with security issues taking birth. There's a lack of control. what do you say to those disadvantages? Are there more advantages that outweigh those? Can you counteract those?
I think it depends who you are. I think in the stage of your e-commerce journey or as a business, I think that's usually where you start looking at code solutions.
Mm-hmm.
But with code comes as well expenses, monthly expenses to maintain it and changing anything. So, and also flexibility comes at a cost. So actually that's what we're trying to tackle with Popup. So Popup is a no-code solution, but the code is open. So if you can build upon it, you can, build your own themes if you want. If you're a developer, you can do whatever you want with it. You can even use, Popup API. It's an API first as well. You can actually even use it almost like in a headless solution if you want in the future. But the issue with no code is it comes at a stage where you are making enough money and you want really something more that you cannot obtain with any solution that is out there. And this is where you start looking at customizing things. But we try to do that with Popup as well, to maintain the no code to as far away as possible along the merchant journey, right? So one thing, for instance, that we did, it's give you a quick example of no code versus code. When you start an e-commerce store on Shopify, you have to pick a theme, right? And a theme has an array of sections. So you have a section is like a header, product feature, reviews feature, banners, whatever, right? This is like, I don't know, there is probably 150 sections in the whole Shopify themes. You buy this theme, and usually what people do, they like 60 to 70% of the section in the theme. And then there is always a part of the section that they don't like and they want changed. So in that particular case, you need to hire a developer. So your no-code solution became suddenly a code solution because you want flexibility. So when we start thinking about Popup, we are like, why don't we stop working with the theme architecture, but we work with section architecture. So it's a section architecture where you have a library of section that you can pick and choose whatever you want, and then you arrange them together, and then you apply a style into the section. So if you want to pick a header, you pick a header. If you want to pick product section, you pick a product section, and then you can choose between different product sections without being, confined by a pre-made fixed assembly of section, which is basically a theme. So in this way, we can push the no code further along the journey of the user, because if he doesn't like a section, there's probably going to be in the section library a section that he can take and substitute to the section that he doesn't like.
Let's talk a little bit about team management. This is something that is really interesting for me with your approach to management and basically founding your company. So I follow you obviously on LinkedIn. I see a lot of your LinkedIn posts, and you are very, very active on LinkedIn. Tell me how you use LinkedIn to manage your team, not managing to the side of obviously you're telling them what to do here, but to me it seems you use LinkedIn to motivate and inspire people and your staff. Is that correct? And how and why?
Yeah, because I think culture in a company is not something that we write in a culture book and then get distributed between the members of the team, between the team members. I think you come up with the values and your mission for your company, and then you live them out in the world every day. And then the people see that and they follow you. Because to me, you are a leader as long as people are following you. Absolutely. So for me, if I'm on LinkedIn in front of the world showing the values that my company represents, then the people that work with me, they see that, and they see that I'm actually talking about it and I'm open about it, and I'm actually doing as well something about it with actions. Not just say, hey, our company wants this flexible approach and we believe that everyone should be equal and we believe in diversity and all of that. I mean, yeah, I can say that. I can write it down and everyone reads, but no one cares at the end of the day. If you don't do it, if you don't actually out there and actually, speaking against things that are going against your value and speaking in favor of what your values represent, then people will not follow you because they don't see where you're going. So I think to answer your question is like using LinkedIn to make sure that you live your values every day in the world, so the people that work with you, they follow you and they see where you're going and they see what you believe in. I think that's a very good way to show the world and your staff what you're about.
I agree. What I like most, obviously, in your post as well is the personality behind it. With you're not just there to show everything's great. Yeah, you're there to show, it's tough. It's difficult sometimes. There was the last one where you were talking about parenting and being like
I don't like parenting. I know, right? I think I think the issue that I have sometimes, and I was having a discussion the other day with someone, is I do believe social media is bad. I do believe, like, I actually see myself. I go on LinkedIn and I start to scroll down, and I saw that, like, after 5 minutes, I don't feel good about myself.
No.
I think it's very hard to escape social comparison. And you see all these happy people, and people have everything figured out, and it seems that everyone is crushing it. Everyone's an amazing parent. And I don't know. I don't hold against people that do that, because sometimes I'm sure people see myself and they feel like I have everything figured out too. And I have no solution to this, because it's like, should I just post about the best shit? Not really. It becomes like kind of this negative pole. But like, look at this guy just posting about how, you know, sucky life is. And then you can't post about just happy stuff, because it's like, hey, look at these happy guys. It's like, what about me? I'm suffering. So I don't actually have the solution besides telling people, don't spend too much time on social. I don't go against what I'm trying to say, because obviously I'm using social media, but I do think that I don't know if we can escape to social comparison. So for my post, what I'm trying to do, I try to give actionable insights. Try to be as honest as I can. Try not to flash things out too much, which I could, and I don't understand why people do. So for instance, if you have a Ferrari, or you bought a new car, or you bought a new boat, you want to show it off in social media because you want to show off your success. I don't think is bad necessarily, but be mindful that that post is going to make other people feel not great about themselves. So my question is, like, why do you do it? Do you do it for a reason? Are you trying to help people, or you're just trying to get followers and engagement? Because if you're trying to just get followers and engagement, you're using some success in your life, which is done by hard work. I'm not saying that, you shouldn't show success, but you're using success to get followers engagement, which is something that you just benefit, but on the other side, that you're going to make a lot of people feel suffer. Maybe more people are going to feel envious and they're going to suffer, rather than people feeling like, oh yeah, well done. Because the people well done are the people that are as good, as happy as you, or maybe they have a boat as well, or whatever it is, right? Everyone else, which is like most people, they're really trying to really going paycheck to paycheck. Forget about, working 12 hours a day. Most people I know work very hard and don't make no money.
Okay, tell me, that leads me on to my next one with you. So tell me about your leadership style.
Yeah, so I believe that, I don't know, I think it's like, how can I start? I just feel that being a leader is like being a parent, which is fine because I don't like parenting that much. But I think it's like I never felt that my daughter is I never felt that I own my daughter, or I am the person that she needs to listen to because I'm the father and I make the rules and I'm in a position where I'm smarter than her, or I have more responsibility, or whatever it is, right? I always felt that my daughter is her own person and I'm here to support her as a tutor, to help her out to grow up to be the person that she wants to be and the person that she's going to be, which is completely independent from me. It's going to be affected by my parenting, obviously, and the way I help her out, but she's very much her own individual. If she falls, I always, she has to pick her up on her own. I can tell her how to do it, but I always try to have this type of parenting. And I think leadership is not far off from that. I don't believe in this structured approach where you have, these pyramid things where you have the boss and then you have people that work for you. I even force myself to say, you don't work for me, you work with me. It's not, there's no pyramid thing here. It's like we are on the same level, and I try to put the people at the forefront of their projects. Try to give them as much as autonomy they have. The issue of giving people autonomy is that with autonomy and responsibility comes as well great stress and great possibility to burnout, especially if you are in people that are putting their heart into what they're doing. So I think the job as a leader is making sure that they feel supported by doing their job, so they're actually able to, champion the people, right? So you have to be able to support them as much as you can. They're going to bring the result. They're going to be fulfilled because they're going to be at the forefront on the project. And I'm on the side kind of making sure that if they need help, I'm there for them. At the same time, as I was saying before, making sure that they see where the company is going, where the vision is going. And I can do this by being active on LinkedIn, going to podcasts like this, and especially in a remote company, because once you're in the office, let's say you have 100 people in an office, I come into the office, people see my energy, they see what I'm doing, they feel the leadership energy around them. But when you are remote, they need to see that without being in the same office. So that's why I think LinkedIn and social media help to accomplish this. with the distributed team.
So what do you search for when you look? Obviously, you said who you are and what your kind of leadership behavioral patterns would be. What do you search for when you're looking for, let's say, when you're looking for an engineer, when you're looking for someone to join your team? What do you search for?
I think is the first thing is like it needs to be a good culture fit. That's the first thing, because you can be the most amazing engineers in the world or the most amazing marketer, but if you don't have the same values that the company has, then we know we're setting you up for failure.
And your
So I
values
think
as a company are?
I mean, I think the big thing on hiring especially is not having an ego. I think the ego plays a big role. So this is like there is very much a sports team mentality, right? This is like if we're just talking about the hiring, like and how values plays with the hiring. I think it's not a family mentality or a family type of business. It's more like a sports team, and we make sure that people understand this from day one when they come in, which means that everyone is replaceable. Sorry to say, but you do. It's like you're part of a team, and you have to do your part, and it's going to be people that are at the forefront of there's going to be the all stars that are we have to push because they have skills that are very unique, and then there is everyone else, but we are bringing the results together as a team. It's not, and I think people need to understand.
Right now, well, last time I checked, you have a few open vacancies at Popup. You've got, I think there was I can't remember exactly what it was now, but you had 2 vacancies available. What do you do, and how do you find your tech talent at the moment? Because obviously it's so difficult to find a talent in a saturated market. What are you doing to find the talent you want, the talent that wants you, and also, that culture fit as well, which is a whole different part? What do you do for that?
Yeah, so for marketing is a little bit easier because we don't need to grow the team as much as we and the engineering, right? Because we're very much in the product phase right now. So for marketing, I honestly just poach people. I just go to like people that I know from working for other company. Maybe I follow them on LinkedIn and I see what they did before. So I can understand like if they work with this company, there's a very similar culture to us, and this is the results that they brought in. It's a kind of a slam dunk, and this is actually how I found Daria. Yeah, because she was working for Lemlist, and I follow Lemlist, and I think they did amazing things. And she left Lemlist, and as soon as she posted that she was leaving Lemlist, I sent her a text and say, "Hey, can we have a chat?" For engineering, we were looking for engineering ourselves, and it was too hard. So we hired 2 recruiters. So we actually had 2 full-time recruiters, and we actually hired a new recruiter as well in India. So there are 3 Indian recruiters recruiting Indian engineers.
Interesting. And that's because they understand it better, or?
Yeah, they understand better. They understand it's much easier to find them. They know the market. They play in their own field, right? So they understand culture, because culture fit. It's all well and good when you say culture fit, but in Popup, we have Muslims, we have atheists, we have Mormons, we have Catholics. We have people from Lebanon, from India, like religions. We have probably every religions that, as I said, and then we have people from Canada, UK, Emirates, Lebanon, Ukraine. It's like culture is it's tough because you have a company culture, but then how does the company culture fits within the belief system, for instance, that someone that is Muslim has, because it's religion and the way people interact with each other is really, really connected.
Absolutely.
So yeah, so I think it's like that's the not the challenge, but it's something that definitely we are heavily looking into how our company culture and our values interact with the belief system of the people that work with us.
Let's talk a little bit about that. That's really interesting here. So I think you said earlier you've got 35 of you now at Popup, yeah? 35 people.
25, yeah, 25.
25.
25, yes.
25. Obviously, there's quite a lot of people now, and obviously different cultures, different beliefs, different languages as well. Obviously, I'm imagining they all speak English. How do you, on a kind of a global level then, okay, how do you on a global level keep this team together? How do you manage a global team? What do you do for that?
I think on a practical level, hiring in time zones that are similar to each other, it's really, really important, because when we didn't do that and we were like, oh yeah, it's going to be okay. He's in Los Angeles or he's in Pacific time, we'll find a way. It's not true. You don't find a way. It's really, really hard, because it means that one person needs to wake up at a crazy time, or one person needs to work at a in the middle of the night. Like for me, if I'm dealing with people in Ukraine, that means that when I wake up like at 8 a.m., it's already 10 a.m. for them. But then at the same time, at my 4 p.m., if I work with someone in Vancouver, for instance, or in Los Angeles, my 4 p.m. is their 8 a.m., which means if we have to have a call, I need to stay up until 8 p.m. So what happens? I end up working from 8 a.m. till midnight.
So do you
And then
think
you have this kind of
that cycle of, because I've heard quite a few times about like the cycle of when you've got people situated all around the world, you've got that cycle for example, someone in Dubai wakes up, they do the work, and then someone in Ukraine's waking up, someone's in Europe's waking up, and then in America, and it could work. Does that not work? Is that kind of a myth belief?
No, I think it works, but it needs to be like a 3-4 hours time zone difference. Once you start to get like 8 hours, and my 8 a.m. is your 4 p.m., is very hard, because at least we don't expect people to work together side by side in calls for 8 hours a day. But you need to have that block where we're all happy. It's maybe your late afternoon, maybe it's my 12 o'clock, and maybe it's your 2 p.m., right? So everyone is kind of happy. No one needs to wake up too early. No one needs to work too late. So this is why I think those from India to Ireland, which is got that 5 hours, and that time zone in the middle, that's basically where we operate in. We found an amazing person in LA the other day, and we said no, because we knew that we were going to set them up for failure already. So that's one thing. And then we try to structure meetings just 3 days a week. So there's 2 blocks where we don't have meetings, which I think is Tuesday and Thursday. And then in terms of tooling, we use Fellow for meetings, which means that every meeting has an agenda.
Okay.
If there's no agenda, the meeting is automatically gone. There's no point basically having a meeting for the sake of having a meeting. And we find Fellow very good. It integrates with your Google Calendar, and you can basically set up a list, and there is amazing templates. Although we use it very, very simple. It's like there's a lot of like interesting templates that we use, like stand up and all of that. We use it in a much simpler way. And then I think by next year, we're going to try to have offsites. So where basically the marketing team is going to meet on their own, and company-wide sites. That's the issue that we're going to face, because obviously there's people in India, there's people in US, and people in Europe. So when you have a company site, everyone's flying from all over the place. So I think what we are looking into is like we're going to have maybe 1 or 2 company-wide meetings, and then offsites that are like just the marketing team. And this is why I was saying to you, I want the marketing team just to be maybe in Ukraine or maybe like around there. So if we have to do a meeting, it's very easy to organize. And the same thing for engineering. If they're all in India, they can just meet in India all together, right?
Okay, let's talk a little bit about challenges to Popup. Talk to me about what has been the most challenging technical moment to date.
Yeah, I mean, I think Corey would be best on here, but I think is building things that is never built before. That's the technical challenge, because you have no baseline to base upon, right? You have to basically, build something without having to use anything else as a reference, right? You are just building something new and architecting something from scratch.
So lots of things.
That's, I think, yeah, I think that's the big technical challenge. And I think the other tech on a higher level, and then obviously is building things today that that they have to still be relevant in 2 years' time, and making those decisions. So I'll give you an example. We could build a system that allows us to onboard merchants straight away that want to do subscriptions. But in the moment we do that, we know that when we're launching our own payments solution, where subscription is embedded or is going to be part of our payment solution, then we have to take that, scratch it, and rebuild it from scratch. So the decision is like, okay, let's not do this now, and let's wait to build our own payment solution. And once we build this, we build that too. So there's some decision that you have to make, technical decision, knowing that, thinking about 2 years in advance, or a year or 2 years.
Difficult.
Otherwise, you're just running into the issue of, in 2 years' time, you just have to scratch everything out and start from zero.
Okay, so thinking about that, obviously having to think about two years, let's say, ahead, what trends do you see emerging in the e-commerce no-code solutions over the next 2 years, which you are trying to get ahead and be ready for?
Digital shopping, live streaming, crypto and NFTs. This is like the new way of selling online that are just starting out right now. but there's a lot of noise, and there is a lot. You can see the potential of technology, but it's still very much in early stage. Or for big brands like Colourpop or Kylie launched her virtual store. I think they spent like 250,000, I think $250,000 to launch her virtual experience store. Yeah, so obviously work for her. I would say in the next year or two, technology arrived to the point that anyone will be able to launch a virtual store without spending 250,000, just like a no-code simple solution. This is where actually Popup wants to come in, because sending people to a journey that is made of pages, or sending people to a journey that is made of virtual rooms where you go from room to room to room, is actually the same thing. So live streaming is part of our roadmap as well. So because it's a block. This is what I was saying to like the building blocks. Like live streaming is just a building block. So if you want like a product page, go into a checkout and then say, if you spend more than $100, you go into a private live stream with me. If you spend less than $100, you go to an order confirmation page. You're going to be able to do this pop-up natively. So leveraging live streaming to enhance the shopping experience, leveraging virtual shopping to enhance the shopping experience by adding the live stream or the virtual shopping along the customer journey. That's basically what Popup is about. So when we build Popup, is actually to answer this question. We don't know what the future of commerce is going to be. I don't know. I'm making assumptions here, but I really don't know. NFT might completely drop, or virtual shopping might be something that it starts and then drops. The metaverse might flop as well. I have no idea. Or if Netflix is going to start running advertising, and then every streaming platform is going to run advertising. I have no idea. But what I know is that you need a solution that is going to adapt to the ever-changing e-commerce landscape, whatever this might be. And this is where the analogy of Lego came in, because Lego is not only very flexible, but Lego is timeless. While certain toys like, I don't know, Space Invaders or Transformers or whatever it is, it's like they were trending for a while and then they disappeared. Lego has always been trending, from my mom, from my daughter, and for me, because it's so simple, because it adapts to whatever new playing trend it is. You build it. And this is where I think Popup came to be.
It's so true, isn't it? You've got all the, I don't know, the Power Rangers, all of these things that they're with, but Lego is one of those things that just doesn't die. What okay, so with that in mind, obviously you're saying in the next 2 years, internet is going to be more available for everyone can build what they want, from the helps of e-commerce. Does that mean, for example, services of programmers, developers, engineers, outsourcing, these kind of people will be less and less needed? So you see that then obviously going down, e-commerce going up, no-code solutions?
No, I think there's always going to be need for engineers. I think it's like it is the future. I think in India as well, they pay you now to be an engineer or something. I think I heard about this. I think I have to look into it, but I think the government gives you grants to become an engineer, because there is a lack of engineers. It's like there is supply and demand. Like technology and ideas are moving way too quickly. VCs are very well funded. Beside what people are saying now that the market is in downturn is true, but there is 250 billion in VC money right now that needs to be deployed, right? And where is it going to be deployed? In tech, because tech is the most scalable solution that we have. That tech is e-commerce or self-driving cars or self-driving drones or whatever technology we build. There always going to be need for engineers. So I think it's not, no code is it tackles a portion of the market by democratizing technology, but you still need people to build that technology. And also you arrive to a point where you always need agency, you always need developers to stand out. So no code is not a forever solution, it's a starting point. It's along, as I was saying before, is along the merchants or the user journey. If we can extend that journey as much as we can, I think that's where no code solutions come in. But I don't think it's a journey from end to end, because with growth and complexity is always gonna be an issue.
Okay, one more question for you, and this one obviously a bit more personal towards you and your accomplishments and for the future. So what I wanted to ask you is, there was something I saw on Instagram the other day where you were talking about 2014. In 2014, you ended up living with, I don't know, it was a group of people in a house.
Squad house.
And then you got to 2019 where you found the love of your life and you built the company that you wanted and took the revenue sky high. What would be that bit of advice you would you wish someone had given you, let's say, when was that, 2014, let's say 10 years ago, what would be that advice that you would wish you received?
So 10 years ago, I was 29. 10 years ago, I was 29. Oh, yeah. What's a bit of advice? In what sense, though? In like my private life or business life?
A business to make your business work. Obviously, 2014 was your, let's say, your lower point. 2019, you just.
Oh, yes. I think just be confident. Be confident in yourself, and don't think that other people know more than you just because on the outside it just looks like they have everything figured out or they're making more money.
Mm-hmm.
I always used money as a measure of success. That was my big mistake. So when I saw someone that was making some money and maybe were flashing some money, most of the time probably they didn't have that much money. They just had a lot of debt. I always thought this person knows more than me just because they made more money. Little did I know that they didn't. They were just lucky. Because luck is luck. I mean, honestly, I just met people that were lucky. I met people that had no idea what they were doing and they made quite a bit of money. They weren't able to keep them. And their journey now is gone. Like most of them, they're gone, or they're not doing. I really move 10 times further along my business journey than they ever will.
Last question on that then, and then I'll let you go because I know I've taken a lot of your time. So, right place, right time. How is luck the secret to success when the founders are building their business? Then is it more luck? Is it hard work? Is it a mix of the two, or is it really weighted more towards luck?
No, I don't think it's luck. I think honestly, I do feel myself. I also changed my perspective a lot, and I do feel myself lucky just to live in a country that has a democracy and there's no war.
Mm.
I mean, yeah, that's the starting point that we give. For us, it's just like, yeah, I mean, I'm not lucky. I mean, it's like, it's so hard. And then you're looking around, it's like, well, I mean, I live in a democratic country. There's no war. I have support from my government and I can get a job anywhere. I mean, that's already, to me, just, you're already lucky just as a starting point comparing to, 70 to 80% of the world from someone like in Ukraine or in Brazil or anywhere like that is actually struggling with the day to day and they want to start a business. I think it's not luck. I think luck as a big part of giving you the ability to not go through so much of, like, I guess, hardship or failures, right? So an example is Ben Francis from Gymshark, right? He was very lucky. I mean, he had a good idea, good business, right time where all the influencers were, the whole influencer marketing really just started to flourish. And that's it. He built like first business he did. It was right. He just got it right. And now it's $1 billion company. But he was also smart enough to take a step back and realizing, putting his ego aside and say, okay, I'm just going to move aside now. I'm going to get the CEO in and I'm going to let people know what they're doing to run the business. And that's what it is. And now he stepped back as a CEO after, I think, 6-7 years. Mm-hmm. That was a very, very smart move. I think it's consistency. And I think is having the motivation to move towards what you want. And this is something that I have, and I see a lot of people, some people don't have. When I put my head into something, I just go for it. I don't, and there's nothing that happens that will put me back. Mm-hmm. Comes as a blessing, as a curse sometimes, but I think it's not, for some people it's not natural. I mean, I know I am probably programmed a little bit different. I think but I think entrepreneurs have this, and they have they're optimists, because you cannot be a pessimist if you are an entrepreneur. I think I always hope for the best. Mm-hmm. And I think the advice that I give to people is try to find the thing that really motivates you. And it's not something that can be accomplished, because the moment you accomplish something, then you're no longer motivated by anything. So for me, I want to make money. I always thought that. Like, I don't come from a rich family. I went through struggle, as a kid. So I always thought money equals success. Money equals I'm okay. I'm happy, right? Because my parents were not happy because I thought they didn't have the money. Mm-hmm. That wasn't true. We weren't happy for other reasons. Mm-hmm. but I think that was my mistake. So I always chased that, and I constantly found that I wasn't satisfied. So I think it's like, if you can find the thing that motivates you, then you're gonna go for it. And doesn't matter what happens in your life, you're eventually gonna get there.
So, having those goals that you can reach and actually mark down and say, okay, how can you say, I want money? How much money do you want? No, you need more kind of concrete goals, which you can see, which you can achieve.
Yeah, what do you love to do? Mm-hmm. Yeah, like for me, it was helping people. helping people. That's as simple as that. I realized that I wanted to help people. So when I started to do projects before Popup, when we started to do projects in Viceroy, and we started to do supplements, and I was getting feedback from clients saying, I'm sleeping better, I have more energy. I was like, oh my God, like I want to sell more. I want to sell more. I want to sell more. Not because I wanted to make more money, just because I wanted to have more people. I want to have more feedback. I wanted to help more people. And this is where Popup came in. It was like, we can actually help everyone that is struggling like us to be more successful online and be a great entrepreneur without having all the stress and all the headaches, and we can help people again. So for me, it's always been helping people. Obviously, put yourself in a position financially that you don't have to struggle, because if you're struggling, then you're stressed. But so I'm not saying that money doesn't buy happiness. No, money does. I mean, it does buy you. It does. Like it does. I mean,
at least, doesn't it? Yeah.
It did buy me like that I sleep better at night, that I'm not stressed anymore, that I know that I can support my family, that I know that I can support my mom. I mean, those are things that are made of money and not made with like, oh, I just love helping people. That's nothing to do with that. But I think it's like once you achieve that amount, which I think is around, I think someone made a study, I think is around 75,000, 80,000 a year. They saw that around, I think 100K. I think 100K a year, they noticed that the threshold between like money and happiness disappears.
Interesting.
Yeah, because basically once you can, go to holidays and pay rent or buy a house in a nice house, like it's like 10K a month, right? Something like that. Like in obviously depend on different countries, but they did the study in the US. Yeah, they did the studies. Like, so there is a price for happiness. I think it's 100,000 a year in US. So I think once you achieve that, be motivated by something else.
This is interesting because this is one thing that I've noticed from speaking with lots of different founders now, that is success is founders are aiming to make the world a better place a lot of the time now. A lot of what they do, especially with technology, is to try help people. And it seems that is their first goal, and then it's money. Obviously, without the money, they won't be able to do it. But they've got that goal, which produces the results for bringing in money. And that's what I found over the last a couple of months speaking to lots of you guys. So yeah, very, very interesting. Matteo, thank you so much for speaking with us today. So nice to see you. So nice to see you again. I think maybe 2.5 months after our first conversation. Much nicer conversation. Obviously, still times are not better. But we're on our way to victory. We will be victorious. And we know you'll be here with us as well. So it'll be amazing. Matteo, thank you for today.
Thank you, Matt. Thanks.
Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to press the thumbs up button below. Also, subscribe to our channel to make sure you don't miss out on any future content coming your way in the near future. Also, I really want to know your opinion about this episode, so be sure to leave a comment down below in the comment section. Okay guys, that's all for now. See you soon.